Alright, we're definitely going to try this out. See if this works. I turned it on low latency. See if that works. One second. I haven't showed up on the YouTube yet, but alright, we'll go ahead and see if we can try this out real quick. Hopefully this got better. They don't sound
The sooner our lads beat
too
the
much
black
better.
ones.
Yeah, like on this stream it looks really good. Like the one that you're seeing, it's really smooth, but the game that I'm playing on is super choppy. I don't want super choppy. Super choppy as I know.
The sooner our lads beat the black ones, the sooner they can come. Oh! Beg your pardon.
Hold on. Maybe if the sound sounds good.
Fairy tales. Did he have
Keep
white
playing it.
hair or
I'll keep playing it on there.
horse?
Oh, it does sound good. Well, this is what I'm gonna do then. Change my webcam
The sooner our lads beat the black ones, the sooner they
over
can
to
come
my
in.
OBS screen. Then, alright, I'll have to switch that real quick. Increase the size of my screen. Increase the size of my screen. Oh. That got a lot bigger. Almost too big. Alright, scale the window. Almost too big. Alright, scale the window. There we go. Well, that's just fine. Looks like we'll just be playing on this OBS screen. Looks like we'll just be playing on okay. Here, let me adjust my mic a bit. There we go. Beautiful. You're doing an amazing job.
Fairy tales. Did he have white hair or
Scrubbing
white horse?
wood. I wonder what the cosmetics of that is. You know, like, is it just like getting the dust out of like dust mites and stuff like that and eroding the wood So it's not like you're necessarily cleaning it, but you're like knocking out the things that could possibly damage it. Maybe, I don't know.
Look familiar. I ever wallop you?
Know what they say about you lot?
Ah,
If you
good.
seek
Sound is
justice,
good.
hire a witcher.
I have a knack for playing games without the sound. We must not do that no more.
Everyone to me!
My VTuber's tomato's a little slow. Alright. Where are we going? Oh, it's... Excuse me. This way. Is it in here? Let me through. Am I supposed to talk to you?
Go on, don't think twice, just buy.
I don't think that's wise advice, sir.
Please.
We'll have to enter from the back.
I'm looking for Tamara, the Bloody Baron's daughter. Your brother said I'd find her here.
Wojtek sent you, sir.
How else would I know she was here?
Wait a moment. I'll fetch her.
Aw, Kit. Oh man.
You're looking for me, and who might you be? My father sent you...
Yeah, to see if you're still alive. And well. I'm Geralt of Rivia.
I'm quite alive and extraordinarily well, Geralt of Rivia. Better than I've ever been in this rotten life of mine, and now that you've seen...
Wait.
We've nothing more to talk about.
Father's worried about you.
Got every right to be angry at your father,
For
but he's
sure.
worried about you.
I have a right. Thank you kindly. So good to have the approval of his hired thug. And my father worries only about what to get soused on next.
Man, that's a tough one. Yeah, I think I'm in the way a little bit. Maybe move right here. There we go. Let's try that. There we go, that's a little better. What? Witcher 3 has crashed. How dare it? Well, let's do this then. Surprised it crashed. Let's try it again. Yeah, while we wait, I was telling somebody about places that I've worked before, and he's telling me how he's getting along with his buddies and how they pick on each other, and that's like that's kind of like the man thing, you know, to do. And I was like, I ran into someone a work place I used to work at, a big factory. I was a cleaning specialist, so to speak. But you know, technically it's a janitor, basically. But they call it a cleaning specialist. But I had to clean the entire warehouse, and it was massive. And And I met this one guy, and then me and him was the only ones that didn't have fork truck and whatnot. We had these little ground fork truck things where they're just like lifts, basically riding on lifts. And I normally could have skipped that, but this guy was pretty good shape. You know, he's pretty ripped and whatnot. And then at the time, I was close to on par with him too, and we had to get a box or something like that, like four racks high, which is pretty far up there. And then me and him was like looking around, we didn't see anybody or the boss, so we're like, you know what, and we're like looking at each other like, hey, you want to put this box up there, can you do it? It's like, yeah, I can do it, you can do it. You know, can you do it? And you know, it's kind of like that underlining thing of like, you know, trying to impress each other without really saying it. And then we both like grabbed onto that rack, and then we was able to climb up it with like without any ladder or anything like that. We just like press our feet up against it, and then we'd be pulling on the bar with like our arms and stuff, and climb up like monkeys, basically. And then he'd be in the raft above me. He'd hand down the box, and I'd grab it. He'd climb down, get in the rail underneath me, and then I'd lower the box to him, and then we just repeat that until we finally got down to the ground. It was a pretty cool moment. And then literally, not right after we got off, but literally probably about 30 seconds to 45 seconds after our boss, it started with a K, I ain't gonna say his name, but walked by. And, you know, he just nodded at us as he walked by and stuff, and then it's like we fist bump, and it was like one of those cool moments. You know, we barely got by, which is crazy because out of the entire factory, you know, we about 30 seconds off from getting completely caught. You know, I don't know if we would have got fired, but that's definitely firing, you know, material. Alright. The game's still laggy on this end, but I am a witcher. Alright, let's go here, go there, and then be here. Yes. And let's see if it'll hopefully it'll last. Crazy, it crashed. Yeah, I don't know if I have settings that are messing with it or not.
You'll choke to death on 3 pounds of steel.
Ooh, that's about the average weight of the sword back then. 3 pounds. They got that accurate.
Have we not met before? In Loch Moyne, perchance?
Oh yeah, this way, this way, this way.
This side of the pond, sir.
Run! Run, Geralt.
Everyone to me! To me! Paper, please.
It's a little choppy, ain't it?
Long live Radovid!
This thing's all over the place.
I'm looking for Tamara, the Bloody Baron's daughter. Your brother said I'd find her here.
Wojtek send you, sir.
How else would I know she was here?
Aw, man, this
Wait
thing's
a
way
moment.
too choppy.
I'll fetch her straight away.
No way I'm gonna play this game with this sort of quality, guys.
You're
Hold on.
looking for me, and who might you be? My father sent you.
Yeah, to see if you're still alive.
I'm...
Wait,
We've not...
This is what we'll do. Exit out of that game. Yeah, sorry about that. That was weird. Not sure why it acted like that. Even my mic, everything was really good, but even my mic is a little acting a little weird. Just another navigation thing I gotta do. Yeah, I guess we'll definitely play Witcher. Either when I figure out how to get it to work a little more fluidly and better. Either later today or on another day. Yeah, how you guys doing? Yeah, like I was talking on my last stream. Well, the one that doesn't exist. For my graphic novel. In relation to that, I definitely want to do a tier list of like magic systems, and I'll be organizing that and whatnot, and then talking about some of that stuff. So anyone that's like a storyteller out there, will definitely, maybe, hopefully, see things a little differently and be able to explore that a little bit. The relation between like high magic systems and low magic systems, or soft magic systems. And definitely want to know what people's favorites are, on a tier list. Yeah, what people really prefer, the mystery or the science of it. And currently I'm going to develop one myself too. I got quite a few, but I got two that's really redefined. I guess I can kind of talk about one now. The one in the Auraverse, the one that Reaver's in, it's very similar to another one that I'm working on, called Thy Kingdom Come, and it works with let's talk about the scroll part of it, where if you're going to make scrolls, there's these mana stones, and mana stones hold like the mana energy within them, but there's a finite way in ingredients that you can combine them with and mix them with to make like a fine powder, and then make like a fine like sort of paste or ink, and then you can write the spell within the word on the scroll, and with the right ingredients and with the fine precision of like the print on the scroll will determine like how powerful the scroll will be, sort of thing. So even if you like mess up a letter or something like that, it'll be weak or it won't even work, sort of thing. So scrolls are like really articulate and finite, things that you can use or try to make. And that's just the scroll portion of it. But the things that are similar to Thy Kingdom Come and the Auraverse is it's going to be like a mixture of things of like understanding magic and where you believe it comes from, and also the practice of like mana domain and whatnot, where it's like you're reserved within your body and understanding how to bring it out, sort of thing, and meditation and the history of it all. But mostly also like an imagination aspect to it also plays into like making magic a thing and whatnot. So you have to be able to visualize the magic, at least even in what you read or what you studied or what you were like told or what you saw, will determine whether or not you could cast it or even use it or form it. And there's like loopholes and stuff like that, because I know there's actually some people out there that have I forgot what it's called, but they can't like imagine things. Like when they try to think about an apple, You know, they can't really necessarily picture it. They know what an apple is, but they can't necessarily even picture it. So that'd be someone that would struggle to learn magic as well. You know, but there'd be other ways around it. You know, like learning about where it comes from and this, that, and because it kind of like aligns your mana with how to cast it, sort of thing. And it comes from like the air and your body and all that different stuff. But I also thought in like the Auraverse, where there's like a super dimension where pretty much all this magic comes from, where it grabs from like an infinite sources of material that actually force the material to form the magic, sort of thing. That's kind of where it comes from, and it channels through you. You know, once you learn magic and you practice it. So it kind of makes sense that it's coming from something, you know. Yeah, just like forming magic out of thin air because of magic. It's like the formation of things coming together that actually forms the magic through some sort of like unique gateway. You know, so when things kind of make sense a little bit more, that's kind of like the hard magic system, where it's like, oh, you know, that makes sense. It comes from that, and you know, this and that and the other thing, and it takes time to learn, and all this sort of different thing. And I got another magic system I might throw in there too, actually. Yeah, like there's another story I'm wanting to work on called Manosphere PW, and the PW stands for Plane Wizards. So that's basically the world destroyed by dragons. So think of like Grain of Fire and Harry Potter, you know, put together in a sort of way. You know, they meet each other, but it's very different too. But they ravage the world, and the population's really low, and they rule the world, and you have to kill the queen and the king. And it's like every 300 years they can birth quite a few dragons, so they got like a time limit before like the next moment they'll get destroyed. But anyway, their magic system is there's like a manosphere way high up in the sky, you know, at a certain level. And you can either climb like really high mountains, or you can fly up there and go in that manosphere. And you're filled with mana after that point, and then you can start casting magic after you've kind of learned it and practiced with it. And not very many people can learn that, or even do that, because it's just intense, and fuel is hard to come by, and it's hard to get, or you have to climb, or you know. So plane wizards are incredibly rare, and even if you had all that stuff, it'd be hard to learn it. You know, you have to be a hard worker, sort of thing. And then if you stay in it too long, you get like a mana sickness and whatnot. Some people have different tolerances to it than others, but you know, they're relatively all the same. You stay in it, you can get sick and you know, become ill, and this, that, and the other thing. It can even lead to death if you have like super exposure. Like if you were to like pass out up there or something and stay in it, it would eventually kill you, sort of thing. But for the most part, it's safe. And even if you were up there in the manosphere and you're filled with mana and you're able to cast spells, even if you don't know how, it still don't really even serve a purpose for you. So it takes practice there. I'm still trying to develop like how they actually learn the magic, sort of thing. Like if it's like Thy Kingdom Come or Auraverse, where it's like imagination and meets, you know, like feeling it through the body, or meditation or something. I'm trying to figure that part out, but that's pretty exciting stuff. But that's the biggest thing too. Another thing with ideas that I think a lot of people get wrong, and I also got wrong too, believe it or not, where ideas are, it's like at the same time they're easy and they're hard to come by. you know, like a good idea. But, you know, just to break it down on the lesser of both evils, that anyone can come up with ideas, you know, really cool ideas, but it's the thing behind it that makes it incredibly powerful. You know, it's like, okay, you got this cool idea, because one example that I got where I kind of messed up, where I was like, well, and I was talking to a film friend of mine who's developing his own script and idea, and he was telling me about his ideas, and he asked me about one of mine, and so I told him, I was like, yeah, I was developing this idea where they're trying to make this new element. It's like an amazing element. It can be used for anything. It's like this super gel sort of thing, like this blue slime or green slime that can be formed in anything, and it's super hard or super rubbery or this or that, and then it can make medical advances, and like collisions with cars would be non-existent, you know, that sort of thing. But what they come to discover is that this material eats metal, so it destroys all metal it touches on Earth. And if you know anything about that, you know, it's not just like cars and everything completely disappearing. You know, it's iron in people's well, I mean, it'll destroy certain metals, I guess, but not like metals within our body sort of thing, but even like canyons and metals within the earth, you know, it creates like canyons, and it just changed the earth quite a bit too, kind of like rotted it, you know, a little bit. I mean, there is places like a safe haven where it hasn't reached yet, you know, but it just completely destroyed the world and whatnot, and they can't ever use metal again because it's like in the air now or something, and it just completely destroyed everything. Like, not even swords or guns, nothing exists that's metal. They had to completely change their way of life. But they also had this new gel that they can use, so they became like mountain climbers and stuff like that, and they're able to climb to certain places and get resources, and you can fall from great heights and not get killed, just bumped up a little bit. And they used what little gel that they mastered as like suits or materials and traveling stuff and whatever, you know, using the very thing that completely destroyed their lives. And I was just telling this person, like, you know, oh, this is awesome, you know, it's a cool idea, right? You know, and he thought it was a cool idea, but then it just struck me like, yeah, that's a cool idea, but in the end, what does it even mean? You know, like, what's the story about? What's the story of the characters? You know, what's their journey they're going on? What does the gel and the metal symbolize within the story? And I still actually haven't thought of one, you know, since then, but I've used that learning lesson in my other stories. So it's just something to kind of take, you know, you can play with ideas, you know, it's like, well, if you get something amazing, you know, sometimes you have to make a choice of whether or not that gets rid of something else, and is that worth it? You know, is the better thing worth getting rid of something that isn't as better? Or maybe at the end of the story, it's not about what's better, it's what's best, sort of thing, you know. And it's kind of, and then you got to go deeper, where it's like, okay, what does that mean within the characters in the story? You know, so that underlying theme has to match what the gel is doing to the metal and the reason for doing that. So in their personal lives, it's got to be like, well, I'm trying to do what's better for my family, sort of thing. You know, one character could be like that, when really what was best was going out there and searching for something like the new place for them to live, sort of thing, you know, and which one's better and which one's best, and, you know, or, you know, it could be vice versa for another character, or, you know, what's the antagonist going to think. And so definitely cool ideas are awesome, you know, and never stop thinking of cool ideas, but don't let that be like the thing that you run off on. You know, make sure it's like a giant vessel, a really fancy vessel that you just pump all your ideas into to make it actually into a story. I mean, Manosphere PW, it will follow like a high-end, it's my only other, I think, high-end autistic girl with like short kind of I haven't decided on pink or purple yet. It might be purple hair, like short purple hair. But she's very unique, and it's gonna follow her main story. Her name's gonna be Kana Blossom, and all she wants is her lavender field sort of thing. But basically, the story is gonna be to defeat these dragons. Like, how far do you have to delve into evil to find the good? And is that what you have to do? Because sometimes, you know, good people have to make bad decisions or bad choices or do bad things. But and sometimes it's against their will, sometimes it's against that or this, but you know, when is it right or when is it too far, or when do you have to pass that threshold to learn what it takes to be good? And can you come back from that? That's the biggest thing. That's what the story is mostly going to revolve around. You know, it's like once you go there and you learn it, even though you learn the lesson, it's like, can you come back? You know, almost like when some people say, oh, after you killed someone, you know, I bet it's a lot easier for them or something. You know, it could be true, but it doesn't mean they're going to, you know, kill anyone or it won't be hard. But, you know, for some people, you know, will that sort of experience actually affect them in another scenario that happens down the way, sort of thing. And it kind of delves into that a little bit. You know, so Kana, you know, as she's trying to learn to be a plane wizard, and she's got her own trials and tribulations, and try to get a pilot, and this drunk old pilot that lost his wife, and the plane wizard thing, and there's a lot of twists and turns too with that, but I won't ruin that. But and then trying to get there is like, how far each time that she's trying to do something, how far does she have to go to get it done? You know, in this broken world, you know, of like low fuel and, you know, harsh environments and dragons that's trying to constantly kill people, and they have to like constantly keep this city alive that they're in, because if they don't upkeep the city and generators and stuff, then the dragons could possibly smell them and spot them and stuff. So it's like a constant work for even getting like supplies and junk and scraps and stuff. Yeah, writing can definitely be fun in that regard. You know, just trying to figure out all those little nuances and little things and stuff. Yeah, again, I'm sorry about The Witcher. Definitely try to figure out all the different because I mean the game worked completely fine the other time, but somehow some switches happened, and everything got all laggy on me. I only had like a half hour to kind of look at it, and then it just all like happened all at once. I need to start like, if I can, like 2 hours beforehand and kind of test some things out and see if I can do any quick fixes and then rearrange things that way. I'm gonna change this. The title of the thumbnail. Talking about writing instead. Then change the thumbnail to actually, technically, I don't even have a thumbnail for this. We'll just go with this for now. And I'll just change it later. Get rid of some of this. The tags. I'm changing those too. There we go. Yeah, I really wanted to play Witcher too. awesome. I also like talking about writing as well, so that kind of worked out. Where are ya, USA? There we go, English, United States. Save. There we go. And I'll change the thumbnail one more time after all this is done. It's another thing too when I start getting a community is talking about writing and ideas and stuff like that. That's going to be super fun. I'll actually be super excited about that. About writing and talking about their favorite stories and if they're working on anything and what makes sense or this, that, and the other thing. Just cool ideas, shooting cool ideas out there. And another cool idea I have going on, and I want to do it right too, of course. But I always kept thinking like there's so many good artists out there. So many phenomenal artists. It's amazing. And they just draw so much and they basically just draw it for fun. Like all these VTubers are getting this amazing art, for thumbnails and stuff, and that's amazing. That's so great, and it shows off their skills. But I keep thinking, like, man, what if people were to band together, and the way that you make it has to matter too. It almost has to be competition based, so it's like unbiased and stuff like that. But imagine, say I'm making a short comic or a short manga or graphic novel, and I got all the storyboards made, basically kind of how I want it, and I got the story and I got the concept, and I write down like what the expression should be on the panel, and then artists can choose like the box that they want to try to draw in, so they basically have the direction of which the draw it, like close to the style and if it fits them, and kind of what we're going for in the panel. And then you can have people just draw all kinds of stuff for that panel, and then the best voted one or something like that will get into that panel. And then you got one filled out from an amazing artist, then you can just have the artist name next to it and stuff. And then all the other artists that didn't make the cut, that'll be shown like on stream or like on a page or on X or from somewhere, and then people can kind of see that, and it shows it that way too, and they always have a possibility. And and once they show that skill, it could be a close second or third or fourth, and then it's like, well, I love that style and what you did, so I can definitely use you for this panel or another panel, or stuff like that. And then you have all these different artists that throw their art into each panel, and then before you even know it, you have a whole story made from amazing artists and community, and what you do with it after that is up to either the community or to the person who is in charge of it, because I thought about doing that, and I'm not thinking about the personal profit part of it, but I'm thinking about if it ever became a real live manga or graphic novel, that it would be put up, and then every purchase made that was out there would go to like back to the community somehow. Or if I ever went to like a TwitchCon, all that money that you guys would see would be all put in the gifts and stuff like that. So when you stop by my booth or something, it'd be like the freebie, gift or candy or this, that, and the other thing, or like a small party or something, trying to figure all that stuff out. Or even pre-buy, the manga or something like that, so they're free for whoever participated or something. Like figure it out like that in that way. That'd be pretty cool. So people's talents are seen, and people's talents actually kind of get somewhere, you know, like get towards creating something pretty cool. Just an idea I had. There's a lot of things I'm gonna have to work out to make that happen. Yeah, just another idea. Ooh, I'm gonna take a sip of my wine. Yeah, it's too bad low latency wasn't the thing that fixed it. Dang it. I tried. Technical difficulties are definitely not my forte. I guess Witcher kind of has like a magic system, doesn't it? See, that one I still don't fully understand. I don't know too much about The Witcher. You know the mutagen and potions and recipes they make, but where does the magic come from? You know, what's the difference between Yennefer's magic and Geralt's magic? You know, I'm sure there's a lot. You know, there's a thing, like a method and, you know, an explanation, but you know, are they related or are they not? Is it just like signs that give them that and the understanding of it, or catalysts, kind of like that bird being summoned by like the little crystal skull thing? Yeah. So much to learn. So little time. So much cool magic stuff out there. I can't wait to be a part of that. I guess that's one of the biggest things I wanted to do too. Is, you know, you see all these greats, you know, like One Piece and Dragon Ball Z and Full Metal Alchemist, and you see all these great mangas out there and graphic novels, and it's like, man, I want to be a part of that. You know, even if it's like a little bit, you know, even if most of my stuff doesn't succeed or become a one-hit wonder, you know, if I could just make it there a little bit to the seat and it's just flowing out there and people are talking about it and they like it, you know, and they learn something from it, oh man, it'd be great. You know, like I love writing and I love books and all that stuff too, and people actually, I mean, people who read books, you know, like understand like the in-depth of being sunk into that world is phenomenal. But that's also cut off from the people that, you know, like to visually look at their stories. And that's also something I really want too, is you know, to have something you can physically see. You know, it's like that's the imagination, you know, come to life in its entirety in a different way. You know, it's like left brain, right brain sort of thing, you know. You know, it's either the right brain extreme senses are going off or the left brain's extreme senses are going off, and which I could be wrong about that. They could be all on the same side. I know on certain parts of the brain, you know, there's a creative aspect and one for reading and one for, you know, certain other things. But yeah, like I was saying too, it'd be, other than, you know, creating something with the community, it'd just be great to talk about magics and stuff like that with the community or writing in general. I got some cool ideas too. I'm working on a few VTubers books, and I'm pretty excited about that. Another aspect to that is also something I definitely want to get clear with writing books for people, is that, you know, they never need to share it, you know, and they don't need to show it on stream, they don't need to post it. Like, everything I'm doing is straight just for the fun of it and the experience and the possibility to connect, you know, and never any pressure and with these books and stuff. And if no one, you know, wants it written, you know, I could absolutely stop. I have no problem doing that. and no one needs to ever feel guilty either. You know, they could just throw the book away and it's whatever, because I'll be, as long as I'm doing it for free and stuff, then it's just going to be adapted, you know, into the Auraverse. So the character's going to change, the weapon's going to change, some of the powers are going to change if it's not too, like, with their character. You know, if it was made up from the beginning, you know, then that don't really matter. But you know, some worlds and names of places and everything's going to change. It's almost going to be close to a completely different book. Very, very much the same, you know, when it comes to plot and other things like that, but it's going to be a different book. So, I mean, I'll still benefit from it. You know, there's no loss at all. You know, I'll never be upset or anything like that. This is all just fun. That's all I ever want it to be. And it's all going to be, you know, in good faith. You know, what I mean by that is, like, nothing lewd, or it won't be, like, Reaver hitting on anyone or anything like that, or, you know, it's all going to be good stuff. It's going to be serious, you know, serious book writing, and just fun stuff. And hopefully it develops into something really fun, you know. Yeah, I even thought about doing like comic stuff too, with VTubers. But one VTuber story I'm planning on working on, which I'm actually pretty excited about. I got several, but and she already agreed to it too, which I'm pretty excited about. It's a VTuber I watch, pretty cool made VTuber, Lulu Bell. She's pretty cool, super chill. She agreed to have a book written, and whatever, you know, she wants to do with it, you know, what, you know, she can do whatever she wants with it. It don't matter, you know. And I just really like the idea. It'd be it's called the Maid's Cafe, not the, but the, and it'll actually show itself later, like at the very end of the story. You know, I already have like the end made out and stuff, and then it'd be the Maid Cafe, Bargain's Law, which I think is going to be like a cool concept, because her cafe is going to be like in the middle of this sort of like cliff, like this up high in the mountain and stuff, where all these roads meet. It's like the most treacherous, most least away from population area that all people have to travel to with like merchants and materials and stuff. And her cafe is like the only thing that's up there that will have people rest and get served coffee and stuff. But there's this weird sort of like curse that's there, and it's called Bargain's Law, is what she calls it. And everyone knows, like, once you enter her maid cafe, it's like if you want to rob or if you want to attack, because it's notorious for all that stuff around there, that you have to bargain with the person that you're going to rob or take, or else there's going to be consequences, like a ghost or something like that will attack you later, or something bad will happen. And she's like the expert of bargaining and stuff, and beat and keeping good track of the customers there and stuff. And she's got her buddy Seal there, and, you know, and helping her out, and other maids and like other robots. And like, I'm just really developing something really cool. And I'm still working on theme and other things and stuff, but there's many VTuber books I'm working on, you know, and it should be fun. Another drink of wine. Now, on another note, if and they definitely don't have to, like, this is not what I'm going for, but if they feel like they can reach people with the book, or it's got good responses, or they really liked it and other people really like it, I'm completely fine with, like, there's three things. There's mainly three things. It's like, if they want to, like, hey, yeah, I definitely want to take this book and sell it, right? It's like, oh, I'm totally fine with that, you know? Literally, you can keep all 95 to 97% of all earnings, you know? I'll just take, like, a simple, you know, 2 to 5%. I really don't care about the money or anything like that. Do not care. It'll never go above that, unless they put a, you know, you know, a gun to my face or something like that, and then we'll debate. But it'll never go higher than any of those. Just to make a little something from it. But they can keep everything else. I don't care if it's millions and I only get like, the 2 or 3% of that. I do not care. But but as long as the main thing too, like I think even more important than the money is, of course, copyright, and as long as they keep their character and everything's safe, and I keep my character and everything's safe. That's it. That's all the contract should say. The percentile, the percentage, who can sell it, which that's be in their court. I can either sell it on their behalf, or they can have complete ownership of it. I don't care. I don't mind. Doesn't matter to me. That's just one thing that they can do if they want the option. But other than that, it's just for fun. Bow, 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 bow. So I'm just pouring myself a glass of wine. Tasty. Yeah, I drink wine like all the time. There's one point in time I was saving all the corks. Holy moly. I had so many. I had like this huge basket and I just kept throwing my corks into there. And it literally filled up so much to where it started overflowing. Like I would just toss it and it would just like roll off of it and onto the floor. Not like in a messy way, messy house way, but just that area, that little basket. I had to pick it up and put it somewhere else. I started saving it somewhere else, and I was like, this is getting to the point where it's too much, and I threw them all away. But I definitely drink a lot of wine. I can put back a full bottle like nothing. I'm not saying I'm proud, but it definitely helps the creative juices going for me. And I watch Frasier a lot. I think that kind of influenced me a bit. If you guys don't know what Frasier is, it's like one of my favorite TV shows. A lot of people don't know what it is, or would even be interested, to be honest with you. But it's like two psychologists are navigating life through the city of Seattle with people that's completely opposite of them. They're very pompous and and high mighty and stuff, but they try to do good, and all their advice like kind of backfires. That's kind of like the comedy aspect of the show, but I love it. The writing is amazing. The wit that goes with it and stuff, and I laugh all the time. There's this episode where Frasier's sitting with his old father, who used to be a cop, and he got like shot in the hip, and then he has to get taken care of, so he lives with Frasier, and he's got him like a care worker that helps. And I guess his dad went out camping, and there's like he came back home, and Frasier tries to pretend like he likes the nature, but he really don't. He likes it for about 10 minutes, and then that's it. And then the nostalgia, like the idea of it. Next, that's something else entirely I can get into, the psychology-wise. But anyway, I digress. That he started hearing a cricket, that I guess, and then it kept him awake all night. And then he blames his father that he brought a cricket home. You need to get rid of it. Figure something out. And get pest control. And he's like, Eddie, my dog, little tiny dog that he loves to death, it's like, he's a hunter. He'll get it done by the end of the night. No problem. And then Frasier makes fun of him for it, and Eddie doesn't get it at all. And then they sit in the kitchen and they buy a gecko to try to take it out. And they're just sitting there talking, hanging out in the kitchen. They have a gecko on the leash. Can you imagine just... I'm just sitting in the kitchen with my father with a gecko on a leash, waiting to eat this cricket. That's keeping us up forever. And then they're just sitting there talking, and his father is like, yeah, don't worry, you know. What does he say? What does he say? Oh yeah, it's like that gecko. He's sharp, like he's as a predator. Yeah, he'll definitely be so evolved that he'll be able to take this cricket out. He's just luring it into like a self insecurity sort of thing, and baiting it. You know, pretending it's being lazy because Fraser said he's been sitting there forever, just sitting there. It's like, yeah, he's he's got a big brain. You know, it's about, you know, it's this size, you know. And then Fraser just like looks at him all sarcastically, and then he puts his fingers up, and he puts it even smaller than what his dad did. He's like, yeah, but a cricket's is this small. It's just so funny. Oh no, Fraser. Sorry, I got that backwards. Fraser's like, yeah, but he's like, Dad, that gecko's brain is like this small. Yeah, and he puts his fingers together, and then his dad rebutes it. He's like, yeah, but a cricket's brain is this small. He puts his fingers even pinching it and stuff. And Fraser's just like shaking his head like, what the heck? So good. Such good writing. Yeah. Before I end stream, I guess the current stuff I got going on right now is I gotta finish this book, Shine Brighter. I'm working on that right now to get that all fine-tuned and out and ready and done. And then next it's gonna be Fire Bloom, the next book in the EOU series. It's done, but I definitely always want to, like, when I say done, like you know, you write the first draft, and it's just you telling yourself the story, and then I revised it. So I went back through, made all the corrections I could, sharpened it up, took out scenes, you know, just kind of make it a little more cleaner. And then I had other people beta read it, take a look at it, have their opinions, and then I went back in and fixed all that as much as I could, and fix some things and make things a little more cleaner and make things sound a little bit more organized, and correct any spellings along the way as much as I could. And pretty much right now I got two things I can do. Just go back through it and see if I can just tighten it up and polish it, or I can go the route of doing a copy edit and proofread one more time on it, and then really kind of get it fine-tuned. But yeah, technically I can make the book right now, you know. Get the cover made, get the formatting, and boom. It'd be a book within a month or so. But I definitely want to do the best that I can with it, with my writing skill right now, because it's always evolving. Because I don't know if there's many writers out there, but basically what writing is for me, for the 9 to 10 years I've been writing, it's almost like those videos, like when you see the videos of like, here's a microorganism, and then here's a fish, and then here's a shark, you know, and the size comparisons, and then it goes to here's the size of a house, and then here's the size of a skyscraper, and then it just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And then, you know, do the same thing with like Star Wars ships and stuff. You know, you're just comparing everything and monsters and the sizes, and, you know, Godzilla or kaiju and things like that. And and then it goes into like the Earth, and it goes into the Mars, and it goes into, you know, our sun, and it goes into like a red sun, and then it goes into like a black hole, and then it goes into a galaxy, and then things just keep like expanding and expanding, and they get bigger and bigger. And that's kind of like how I feel like my writing is, or learning writing, you know, because yeah, it just seems like you always evolve the more you write and the more you get into it and the more you learn. You know, I just feel like there's a whole world, like, oh man. It's exciting as it is kind of... It's both at the same time discouraging and exciting. Because it's like, oh, there's so much more I know I can improve. But man, I didn't know I was that far behind, you know, on learning this stuff. You know, it's much more than just grammar and you know, putting words together and, you know, making it sound nice, and even having, you know, a plot, you know, characters, a goal, and an ending, you know, and things just kind of working together. It's so much more deeper than that, you know, where the biggest things I learned are like every scene has to be heading towards something or somewhere. You know, it has to be working towards something, you know, mean something. Yeah, and then other than that, you know, people just call that, you know, fluff. You know, they're just reading something to read it. Yeah, I think that's something I'm struggling on too. Like a lot of stuff I've written previously, I got to start redefining that a little bit more. Like everything has to matter. You know, the words, the dialogue, everything, and it has to push the story forward. Some of the best advice that I've heard. You know, like when you're writing something, you know, take a look at it and be like, is this really something that needs to be there? Or can I say this thing in a way that is going to push the story forward? You know, it's going to mean something down the road. Because if everything means something, it's going to be that much more powerful and stronger of a story. You know? Something definitely to think about. Another wine sip. Yeah, writing has definitely changed my life. A lot, you know, it kind of gives me purpose. You know, other than watching like TV every day or this or that. When it came to my MMA career, you know, I kind of fell for the trap of staying in a small town. Yeah, because my trainer and good friend of mine, big dude too. He's like, man, if you want to be successful, you got to move. You got to get out of town. You got to go places where there's people. There's a lot of stuff going on. A lot of energy, a lot of opportunities. You got to go where it is. And the same thing with writing too, you know. I don't necessarily ever want to live or go to California, per se, but it's also a place in New York too. Like I love New York, but and there's places in California that seem really awesome. But you got to go to those places if you're writing, because that's where all the action is. You know, that's where everything's going on, all the connections and networking and stuff. Same thing with many other things, you know, with fighting, and MMA, you know, you definitely had to travel around and go to the big gyms and get to know people and fight at more venues and talk to more promoters and stuff like that. It's like you can't just stay in a small town and be successful. And that's kind of the trap I fell into, because I just kind of stayed there. And then my trainer, like, we was training in his garage. Okay, like, it doesn't matter where you train, it's the quality too. Like, the person I was training with was really good. Really good. And then he'd go around and train with all these different people in different gyms, and then come back, and then we'd all just learn it right there in the gym and spar hard and throw some heavy punches and go over stuff. And even when we're like completely dead and exhausted and hardly moving, you know, we'd go for like another hour, you know, sort of thing. And we'd definitely go to other places and even gyms and sometimes outperform them. I was super proud of that, because it's just hard work. As long as you put in the hard work and good quality and you're training hard, you know, you'll do incredibly well no matter where you're at. But there is a limit too. And after that, his kid came home and he needed a place to stay. The gym turned basically into a bedroom, and I had no place to go. No gym at all. It was just me and my own training and stuff. you know, in the small town that you're at, you don't have very many options. You know, so I did the best I could with grabbing people and setting up mats at basements and stuff and going at it. But then after that, you know, I started winning a fight, losing a fight, winning a fight, losing a fight, you know, and it started getting like that. And then in the MMA world, you definitely don't quite want to be like that. Like in your amateur stuff, you know, it doesn't matter too much. But once you get pro, once you turn pro, it really matters. Like you want to use your amateur as a fine-tuning opportunity to fight and train and get really good. It's basically being the best that you could possibly be, and then when you go pro, you can get all the wins and stuff like that, and fight all the people who thought they can go pro. You know, you don't want to be a person that people step on to get up in the game. A lot of people didn't get that too when they were trying to fight, because they immediately want to go pro. You know, you get paid a little bit more, it sounds better. You know, you fight high caliber people, and get noticed more. But you definitely want to go pro when you know you're ready to do it. Because that way, you know, people can find you more and seeing your numbers, and you're more impressive to shoot up the ranks, sort of thing. You know, if you're 9-0 pro, that's gonna look really good. You know, 9 wins, 0 losses on your record. Yeah. But I mean, after the fighting kind of fizzled out, you know, and I put a lot of my gumption in that, and some other things happened. It kind of put a dent in my life a little bit, but then writing came in, you know, and that's where it all kind of happened. Yeah, it all started with an old friend of mine from high school was shooting a film and whatnot, and I was like, oh man, I think I'll be a part of that. You know, got on Facebook, and then went and met him, and did my first film thing and whatever, and then I met a friend of mine from that, another person that does film, who's a lot more into it than the person that I was talking to originally. And after that, man, it just took off. It was one person after another, including him, like the entire way through. Like he was doing short film after short film, and he had other friends that were doing short films, and I was just bouncing around everywhere learning all that stuff. And then that's what kind of got me into script writing. So I was doing some script writing for a little while and writing scripts, and then after writing scripts, I was like, man, I think I can start a book. And then I just got into that. And I'm telling you, I started off slow too. Like, it's always slow going. It's really hard to start writing. Like, I'd sit down and I wrote for like 10 minutes, and I was like, oh man, I'm done. Because you really don't know how to start, where to start. And then it'd be a couple days, like 3 days. Sat down, wrote for like a half hour, you know, and that's it for the whole week. And then it was like next week, and I tried to start again and got more and more and more and more. And then boom, I think the longest I ever wrote for, and this was the longest, like I was just like entrenched into it. It was 18 hours, minus a 10-minute break. I just got like some snack, like I didn't even get like a full dinner. I just grabbed something where I could just, you know, fill up my stomach, drink something, and then I sat back in that chair, and then you could just hear, you know, typing going on. And I timed it too. It was 18 hours there on that weekend. Incredible. It was crazy. I was just so involved in that story, or writing. And guess what? That story, it was crap. It was. I mean, it needs to be revised, and it has been revised since then. But it was just a learning experience. When you first start writing, it's all a learning experience. It takes a long time to chisel on that marble and make something beautiful. You know, so the discouragement aspect and imposter syndrome of writing is something that I think everyone has to fight. You know, it's like two giant monsters or demons like in front of you, and everyone has to fight and get into like a little bout with it and move past it. and it's always going to be behind you on your shoulders, and you got to fight it off. But that's kind of like the test that a lot of people have to go through, and I prepped myself for that too. Like your stuff's going to get destroyed, and there's going to be a lot of fixing with your writing, and that's something you have to absolutely be okay with. And I already preset my mind for that, you know, because that's the whole point of getting an editor or a developmental editor or a copy edit or a beta reader. You know, they're supposed to find more of the bad than the good, because they're looking at all the things that's imperfect on your marble sculpture, and then you get to go in there and correct it, you know. So you gotta completely let all that stuff roll off your shoulders. Yeah, never be discouraged from that, or just know that that discouragement is not defining of what you are, what you have to offer. So if I did that, you know, I wouldn't have gone far as I am right now. I mean, that and not even all these books that I'm writing right now, because I think, I'm not even lying, like this is, I even thought about showing it on stream, like real quick, just rolling through all the the stuff to let people kind of know what I'm doing. Technically right now, if I were to just say screw it, I would have, like, I think 20 to 21 books I can just publish right now, you know, and most of them are kind of revised, you know, to the point where it's like, okay, this is a story, yeah, it makes sense, it's really good, but it's definitely not super good, it's not great, it's not magnificent, you know, it still needs revision, it still needs editors, and it still needs people to take a look at it and make fixes and all that stuff. But technically I could put out like 21 books right now, providing, you know, I had covers and art and all that stuff and formatting done. But I did a lot of writing, but I think the revisions and fixing it up is definitely a lot more longer and harder than actually like writing the story and the draft and kind of making like little corrections and stuff. But what else was I gonna say? I was gonna say something. Dang it. I lost it. It's all your fault, chat. You look too good today. You distracted me. Oh, I can't wait to get a community. It's gonna be awesome. Cool to bounce ideas off of and talk to and stuff. But I know it takes a while. Like, I already told myself, like I already told myself straight up, almost like a still thing with my, like, that's still a mindset with my writing, is like, I'm just gonna give it a full year. You know, 1 full year. I'm not gonna let any negative thoughts or like any negative presumptions or anything in, because it's just a year of learning. You know, when you look back and you're like, oh man, I've been streaming for 5 years. Well, that 6th year, that first year is just like the revving up. You know, it's the rocket shooting, you know, fire underneath it, but it hasn't taken off yet, and it's doing all the checks and this, that, and the other thing, and then, you know, you're gearing up for it. And especially I'd have no streaming background or nothing, you know, I haven't really even messed with computers, I haven't played games in quite a while, you know, besides Call of Duty and this, that, and Minecraft here and there. So I'm really just jumping into this thing, but and it's also, I think, a good opportunity to advertise my writing, you know. So I'm definitely taking that approach, and it's just really fun. You know, I think it's fun to connect with people all over the world and slowly form, you know, bonds or friendships or whatever it may be. Yeah, do competitions and stuff, you know, other than just being friends with people in your community or neighborhood, or, you know, spread about, you know, in different places. It's like you could literally make things happen, you know, and just have, you know, it's like you just jump online and be like, hey, I want to go talk and play this game with so-and-so today, you know. It's a cool thing. You know, and heck, let's jump into that world. Why not? And plus, you know, VTubers and avatars and anime and all that stuff's super cool. You know, this immersion of VTubers is phenomenal. You know, it's really fun. Oh, and by the way, I'm definitely not a singer, so I won't be doing any karaoke stuff. Just letting you guys know. I am not a singer. I am a writer, a fighter, and a VTuber. Yeah, that's something else I gotta work on too here shortly, is all the Twitch stuff. Maybe get on Fiverr and see if I can get some art and some overlays or something for Twitch. Gotta work on that. Yeah, what I was saying earlier, it's like you gotta give it a year. You know, no expectations, nothing crazy. Just put in your year, you know, and take it chill. Learn the system, you know. Start a small community, and you know, and just it's gonna be a revving up year. That's all. You know, whatever happens, happens. You know, and I got a lot of writing. I got a lot of other stuff I'm working on and doing right now. And you know, it takes a lot of my time anyway. So I think there's gonna be stages to this VTuber thing that I'll be taking. Alright, well that's gonna call it for today's stream. Sorry Witcher didn't happen. I really wanted it to. Maybe when I switched over to Twitch it did something, and I kinda have to navigate that. Maybe I'll do that tomorrow. I'll just be jumping around and see if I can fine tune everything. Alright. Well, thank you Soul Hearts for coming, or eventually seeing the VOD, or just for being. And I'll catch you later, and have a great day, okay? See ya.